Coming up on this episode of the NVC Studio.
The national dance of the Middle East, which stretches all across the Middle Eastern countries, all the way up to Turkey.
Please stay tuned. Don't go away. Hello and welcome to the NVC Studio, where our communication is, as is always the case, non-violent. My name is Sisanda Mkomeli and our sign language interpreter today is Tshepiso Mokoena. With its roots in the Middle East and in North Africa, belly dancing is more than just about moving your hips or even your belly. It's an entire cultural experience. And so on the NVC Studio today, we're going to be taking a look at the art and craft and cultural experience of belly dancing. I'm joined by Jay Andries Pierce, who is a belly dance, an Oriental belly dance instructor based in the northern suburbs. Jay, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the NVC Studio.
Thank you, Sisanda. Thank you for inviting me.
Let's start by just you explaining what is Oriental belly dancing.
It is the national dance of the Middle East, which stretches all across the Middle Eastern countries, all the way up to Turkey. It is a dance that is embedded in the cultural history of the Middle East, and it is performed in its essence and traditional form by all Middle Eastern countries, particularly in Egypt. It's very popular.
So you're not from the Middle East, right?
No, I'm from Cape Town.
So how did you encounter it? Because you've been doing this now for 10 years.
Yes,
how did your journey begin?
Very unexpectedly, 10 years ago, I happened to be working somewhere, and a colleague of mine asked me if I would like to attend his girlfriend's belly dancing class. She had just come from London and had taken classes from an Egyptian master that was located in London at the time. And I went along, and from the very first lesson I knew this was something that would interest me and fascinate me, and it just took hold of me from the very first class. So I was hooked.
Now you have a history in other forms of dancing, ballet and modern dancing. What was it about the movements or the actual craft in belly dancing that really did it for you and still does it for you 10 years later?
It is a very challenging dance form, and it allows you to master your entire muscle structure of the body. Obviously having an outward effect. The music is also different, the rhythms are different, and it is an art form which engages one, and all the other different aspects of it are very inviting to the female psyche. For example, the costuming. A woman gets opportunity to look very beautiful.
As we'll see later.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a sense of celebration in the dance form. It is a very expressive dance form. Obviously, the physical benefits are there as within every other form of exercise, although I would say belly dancing is ideally suited to the female body, because it mimics the shape of the female body, and it is in alignment with feminine way of expressing yourself. It is also a very safe form of dancing because the spinal column is protected, and which I will demonstrate to you at a later stage.
talk to us about how you have made belly dancing, and not just instructing it, but dancing a career. It's most of us see it and we think, oh, that's fun to do, but it's actually something that you can build your life around. How have you managed to do that?
Yes, amazingly so. I regard it as my profession. I do it full time. I'm engaged in it's the running of a business. So I need to deal and attend to all aspects of running a business. So it really is a full-time career opportunity for any woman who would like to take belly dancing. So you can become a teacher and run your own studio. Standard and treat it as a professional environment, much as the same way as being a lawyer or doctor. There's an enormous amount of continuous study involved, so that what you're teaching, you're growing your students as well as yourself with the journey of this dance. Obviously, I would recommend anybody to do a minimum course of 3 years before entering into a teaching environment, so that you can ensure your students a high standard of this dance, and also just be able to show all the elements and different styles of this dance to your students, because it is basically a curriculum. It's not only about the foundation movements and fun aspects of dancing. Yes, that is there as well. I also belong to an organization, MADASA, which is the Middle Eastern Dancing Association of South Africa, and you can Google bellydancers.co.za and join this dancing site, which will also give you a very good idea of all the ethics and the
practices behind it,
standards of what goes on the business aspect of this dance.
Well, when we return, Jay will be showing us and demonstrating a few moves dressed and kitted out in her instructor gear, and we'll be finding out more about where it is that we can get lessons, etc. So stay tuned. Welcome back. This is the NVC studio, and on the program today we've been chatting to Jay Adrians-Pierce. Jay is a belly dance teacher, and she also runs her own studio, Zharia Desert Rose Studio, and it is an oriental belly dancing studio. Jay, thank you again for being with us. You look very stunning.
Thank you.
And you've put on the outfit that you use when you are instructing. Talk us through the importance of the dress in Oriental belly dancing.
Well, this would be a cabaret costume, and you would be doing a specific style in this costume, which is more suited to a restaurant or a nightclub type of environment, or where a show is taking
place, where there's an audience,
because it has a lot of shiny bits. Also, more importantly, is the style of dancing, which is Egyptian Oriental, classical. The music is more orchestral, but you may also perform in this costume in a shabi style, which is a more modern style of belly dancing. It is a it's a blend of the ballady styles, which are the more traditional cultural styles, but it's more on a pop type melody. So it is. Yeah. That is the costuming that you would wear for that.
Instruments, tools that you're holding in your hand?
Yes, they look quite
intimidating.
Yes, when we arrive for our performances with our sticks and our swords, everybody looks at us.
Yeah.
But these are cultural ways of dancing as well, and this is called cane dancing, which is done to a Saidi rhythm, which is a basic rhythm to follow. It's part of the belly dancing curriculum that we learn, and it's the correct name in Arabic is asaya, which means cane dancing or taktib, and you would wear a galabaya, which is a long garment, and just a scarf, a hip scarf with coin belts around it. If you could just show that.
Love the sound already.
And that would be tied around the hips, and then you would perform in your long galabaya, which is behind you on the wall. That is a very bling version of one. You could also just wear a more plainer one. Yes.
Just to interrupt, so what do you do with the stick? Do you move it around?
We swing it around.
Okay, and the sword?
There are obviously specific movements that are within the style of the dance that we learn. Very nice, very relaxed form of dancing. It's a lot of fun. This one is the sword balancing. Not everybody does this in belly dancing.
Is that a real sword?
It is a real it's a real sword. It's got a real blade.
Oh goodness.
If this lands on your foot, you'll know all about it.
Let's hope not.
So I do workshops teaching the art of balancing the sword on the head. The sword is then perched on the head, in the center of the head, and the movements are then executed.
Wow.
It teaches you balance and how to keep your upper body very still. So it's a good teaching method for dancers. level 1 course, which I will cover and show a few movements, just so that everybody gets a good idea. But the basics are activating the core muscles in the body and done to the correct posture. That there's a technique involved, and that it's not just about moving in the perception where you would imagine how belly dancing is performed. There is actually a foundation technique involved, which serves to protect the skeletal structure most importantly, and obviously give you the benefits of developing your muscle structure in a way that would shape and tone your body, reshaping, giving you a waistline, chiseling out underneath your bust area, and developing your arm muscles not in an over-exaggerated form. Also developing the tummy muscles, which also adds to the feminine, giving you a lovely feminine look. So that is what one can expect when you enter into a belly dancing class for the first time.
When we return, Jay will be showing us exactly what those moves look like, and we'll be getting her contact details. Stay tuned. I'm sure you'll agree with me, it's beautiful to watch. It feels, it's touching my soul, I must say, because it involves your body. You can see the passion with which you're doing it, and you're dressed really beautifully. Talk to us about the muscles and the work that your body is doing as you maneuver the way that you've just been. In case, pardon me, if you've just joined us, I'm chatting to Jay Adrian-Spies. Jay is a teacher and instructor of Oriental belly dance.
Thank you. Well, as you can see, the movements are all what we call isolated and layered. So the body is not all moving all at the same time in a freedom of expression, yet there is still a huge amount of expression involved in the dance and executing of the movements. I'm just showing you basically what you can expect when you start belly dancing. You come into a class, and what I teach is that there's a basic posture involved.
Okay, let me
when I say to my students, when you come through the door, you're walking tall, but when you come through the door, you just bend the knees softly and tucking in your tailbone underneath you so the spine is aligned. Okay, so that means that the hips are not shifted forward or backwards, but everything is in alignment and the chest is lifted, and that is your basic posture from where you can execute all the movements from. So the chest is floating up into the sky and the hips are grounded to the earth. And that is and then the center is where all the energy emanates from the center. The belly rolling, and as you can see, all the muscles are used to engage the hip bones, so it's not becoming a movement where you're pushing out with the hips as such, but you're using the muscles around the hip structure to execute the movements. your circulation, and will give you a tummy flush if you do it long enough, bringing the oxygen to the surface layers of the belly, which is where you're using your knees and pushing your knees very fast past one another. There can be a little gap between the heel and the floor, so you're tucking your bottom underneath you and you're moving your legs very, very fast, your knees shifting past one another. This enables the hips to move up and down. You can test for yourself if you're doing this with a straight knee. Your hips will move side to side.
Okay.
The minute you bend your knees, the hips are moving up and down. Both hips are engaged. The Turkish ladies like to use the glutes, so you can develop your glute muscles, and they
oh my goodness, that looks incredible.
The glutes individually and then at a high speed, but it's not a twisting of the spine, it is actually controlled by the
So what are you doing? You're contracting your bum?
Yes, your bottom. Okay. You're contracting and releasing those muscles. So that means that your spine is protected and there's no twist in the lower back.
Sure, okay. And so you're saying at least 3 or 5 lessons in order to be able to get the basics of this, right?
I would recommend that every woman give herself the gift of giving yourself at least 6 lessons so that you can get an overall impression what belly dancing can do for you. That's what I would recommend.
Because, I mean, you obviously have to start off by breaking some bad habits. You know, when I see you doing this, I think of the normal way of doing it, but you first need to kind of break those off and get then into the correct way of doing it. What are some misconceptions that students step into your class with when it comes to belly dancing? Maybe the number 1 or 2 misconceptions that people have about this art.
Yes, it's true. People perceive the dance to be easier than what it is. And the usual comments I get when they leave is, oh my goodness, I thought this is going to be really easy. So it just goes to prove that when professionals are doing it, it makes it look easy. It's the same with anything else. It's an art form. We make it look easy, but there is a lot of groundwork, foundation work, and technique involved.
Give us your contact details. Where can people find you in terms of our website?
I'm listed on bellydancers.co.za, and you will find belly dancing teachers in your area on that website as well, plus very many interesting articles and lots of information about belly dancing. I'm based in the northern suburbs, and I run a studio from home in my area, and you're very welcome to join me there, or I can recommend other professional teachers in your area. So that is how you can get hold of me.
Thank you so much, Jay. It's been a great pleasure having you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I hope you have learned a lot too. bellydancers.co.za. Thank you for tuning in. On the show, you can visit my website www.thenvcstudio.co.za or join my Facebook page, The NVC Studio, and let's keep talking. See you next week, same time, same place. One love.